right. That brings me in. See, I'm stuck. Son of a bitch. All right, welcome to the Hodge Podge Sports Show. I am Patrick Hodge, Baltimore, Maryland. He is Sean James Harrison, Philadelphia, PA. Coming to you live, respectively, from our homes to yours. Hodge Podge Sports Show is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website, arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience at your favorite sports venue. Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order? Ooh, we got a stacked show tonight. We got a lot to get to. We're going to talk about the NBA Finals, CP3's legacy. We're going to talk about these precarious situations that we got going on with Trevor Bauer, DeShaun Watson's. Revisit that situation and compare that to Trevor Bauer just on the administrative piece. We're going to give a shout out to Dwayne Haskins. We're going to touch on Richard Sherman. We got to talk about the NHL offseason and all things NFL. At this point in time, I am turning the reins over to my main man, Sean James Harrison.
So, I mean, when he turns the reins over to me, that usually means we're starting off with basketball. And, I mean, I feel like that's pretty standard right now with us being now going on to Game 6 of the NBA Finals, where the Milwaukee Bucks have fought back from down 0-2 to try to go ahead and take now. Well, then try to go ahead and went ahead and took that 3-2 lead on what I would call some questionable play by their quote-unquote franchise / superstars, right? So we can go back to Game 4 when Chris Paul has a key turnover in a big moment at the end of the game when he's trying to have that alley-oop to DeAndre Ayton, and, you know, Giannis blocks that, goes down the court, they score, the Bucks never look back. Then we can go into Game 5 where Devin Booker gets the ball stolen from Drew Holiday and go right up the court. Chris Middleton scores, and the Milwaukee Bucks again never look back. Now, I don't want to talk about the series in itself because I feel like we do that enough. You know, our Facebook page is for that. I feel like when I picked this, it was the topic of Chris Paul and his legacy. And with Chris Paul now down after being up 2-0, he's now down 3-2, losing 3 consecutive games. This is his first time being in the NBA Finals after 16 seasons in the NBA. Everybody's lauding him, saying, oh, you deserve it, all this and all that. But when it comes down to it, and now I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting myself a little bit, because if you listen to me at all season or all year when it came to Chris Paul, I'm one of those people that was calling him a point guard, right? I'm one of those people that said that he should have won MVP for what he does when he goes from organization to organization, right? I'm fully aware of that. But let's talk about how he's been coming up short in the series. Let's talk about how after Game 2, he hasn't really – after Game 1 where he had that 40 bomb, he hasn't played at that point guard level, right? Well, but everybody wants to keep calling him a point guard, right? Like what he isn't playing at the level that we're expecting Chris Paul to play at right now. He's coming up short, and therefore the team's coming up short. Plain and simple. Now, I want to flip the mic, and I'm going to ask Patrick the question of how much does this tarnish his overall legacy that he's gotten to this point now where he's at the finals. He was the overwhelming favorites to win this final, especially with, we all know, Giannis isn't playing 100% healthy. Now, yes, they're all hurt at this juncture in the game. Yes, and we get that. But realistically, the Phoenix Suns were heavy favorites in this series. Losing Dario Saric couldn't hurt that much, right? Like he's a nice rotational player for them, but he can't be the make or break point for your team. He can't be. So I need to know. I need to pass the mic over and ask because I think you're right there with me when we both were calling him point guards. We were both saying he should be MVP consideration kind of guy. So I want to know how you feel about his underwhelming performance.
I don't know if he's underperforming, if he just ran out of gas. Is it more everyone else? Because at this point, he's done what he could do. He's still putting up 20. He's still giving you the assist. He's still leading the team. I think it's more on the superstar of the team that's not coming through. I think it's more Devin Booker staying in foul trouble, crying, getting the ball taken from him like a baby in crucial parts of the game. Right? Like there was 2 sequences in these back-to-back games where Drew Holiday just ripped the ball out of that man's hands. Right? I'm serious. Like I'm watching the game last night. I think it was the Bucks either missed a free throw or they missed a shot. It was right when the possession. If Phoenix would have scored, they would have taken the lead. He gets the rebound. He just kind of stands there. I'm like, push. There was no. I think Phoenix has slowed down way too much. I think in that situation they should have pushed. I don't think that CP's legacy will be hurt if they don't win this finals. I think him getting this team to the finals is enough for us to warrant all the praise that we got. But listen, we know previously in all his stints before, he's always came up short in the playoffs. This is the first time that he's gotten this far. So is the real CP3 showing up, or the Bucks just better and have a better game plan? You know, I told you way back when we were picking these finals and everything that the team that I thought matched up the best with everybody was the Bucks. Remember I said that to you, especially with Philly. Remember I was like, man, the Bucks, they just scare me. And I said because they play well together, they're well coached, you know, and you're seeing it's like they're not phased, man. They were down 0-2. They've come back and run off 3 straight. I don't think they lose Tuesday. I think they close it. And
I don't think they lose either.
I think they're the hungrier team. I think they're the more disciplined team. I think they're in Phoenix heads a little bit. You know, it's funny when we see these things, right? And like you said, we have a group for this, right? And when Philly got bounced, right, Phoenix advanced, right? You start seeing all these memes about, oh, the Sixers could have had Mikal Bridges, right? Well, where's he been at? You see what I'm saying? See, it goes back to receipts when we talk about these things, right? And I think when we came back at the beginning of the summer, we told people we were going to take receipts, right? And we're going to hand them out. And if you got receipts on us, we'll gladly own them. But you guys are out here talking all this smack about this, that, and the other. And Philly did this, Philly did this. And then, yet you're touting this kid who has done nothing yet to this point in the league. Where's he at? Like, I think what you're seeing is you're seeing Chris Middleton go off. And you've always been a fan of his. You've always said that he is the man on that team. Every time we talk about the Bucks, you always say it's Chris Middleton. It's Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton is the straw that stirs the drink. Mm-hmm. And I think that you're right in that essence because he's been able to do his thing, which allows Giannis to continue to play, make plays. I mean, this guy is just playing fantastic right now. Giannis, I mean, from what I saw last night, I mean, just making the passes, not afraid to take his shots, living and dying at the line, just continuing to fight. Misses, don't care. Goes right back, tries to make the next one. You know, we know somebody that can learn a little bit from that type of attitude. But then, but then you're seeing Drew Holiday to be able to do Drew Holiday things, right? He's able to bear down, D up, but then he's also able to put the ball in the basket when he needs to as well. Are the Bucks the first team down 0-2 twice to come back and win this barring Bucks win? That's a great question. I don't believe that they are. I'm gonna say at some point in history, there's someone else that has been down 0-2 in both of in the conference finals and then the NBA finals.
It's back to back.
Yeah, for some reason. I want to say it was the Cavaliers, man. I want to say it was the Cavaliers that did it.
The LeBron-led Cavaliers?
It was either the Cavaliers, it was either that Celtics team, right? One of those teams were down like 0-2 in like almost every series and won. I swear. And I think that's recently. We'll have to check. Well, that's a great question, Doc Hodge from Twitch. I'm glad we got somebody on Twitch watching because I did not type that comment. So I'm glad that somebody is watching us on our Twitch feed, but we're going to have to look at that. We'll have to ask the masses if you post that because that's a great question. Nice.
I
Nice.
I
I'm not
asked that
sure.
question.
We're gonna.
I
That's a
asked that
great. That's a
question. That was
great
me.
question. That's a great question. I'm telling you though, off the top of my dome,
You're
I
saying '08
think
Celtics?
I I'm gonna give you three teams now, and I know it's
I'll
kind of a wild goose chase.
I'll look
I
them all
think
up.
I think it was either the Cavaliers, Spurs, one of the Spurs teams, or that Celtics team.
The '08 Celtics team. Just want to
Or
clarify
was
that.
it the Heat? Was it the or was it the Heat? Was it the Bosch, Wade, and James Heat? Because didn't they see, I don't know if they were down 0-2, but didn't they come back and win all their series like in game sevens, right?
Yeah, but I don't think they
Because
were
that was the
down
thing.
0-2.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because isn't that the thing that everybody else says? Michael Jordan never had to have a game seven, right? When they
Yeah, but
compared it to,
I just don't think that I just don't
yeah,
think that they were down 0-2. I
yeah.
think what we're
I
seeing,
don't
yeah,
know.
either way, debate like
Yeah,
either way. Um, and no, the Celtics went up 2-0 on the Lakers, and then the
okay,
Lakers won
okay.
2, and then so. Like the whole point is, well, what the Bucks are doing right now, it's a feat. Like you don't see
It
teams that
is.
often. You don't see teams that often go down 0-2. Well, it wasn't the conference finals either. It was the semis. They went down 0-2 to the 0-2 to the Nets. Came back and won that series. Then went down 1-0 to the Hawks. Came back and won that series. And then
Mhm.
down 0-2 to the Suns, and now have ripped off 3 straight. Now the whole point is, like I said, the Bucks deserve all the credit in the world for what they're doing, and it's funny too because we're talking about when we all thought. Well, I don't say we all thought because I picked the Bucks to beat the Nets. When some of you thought on our lovely page that the Bucks were going to lose to the Nets, that coach out there was going to get fired.
A
So
lot of people thought that. A lot of
a
people were
lot of
feeling
people
that.
thought
A lot of
that,
people were
and
feeling
now
that stress.
and
Yeah.
now we're talking about my man never getting fired from Milwaukee unless he's if he wins a championship on Milwaukee, it's under the same realm, or at least if I thought it was under the same realm of Doug Peterson winning one in Philly, where he can never be
Yeah.
fired. You know what I mean? But if he wins one in
Right,
Milwaukee,
right, right, right.
Milwaukee hasn't seen one since what 1974 with the Big O. So the Big O
Right.
and Lou Alcindor. I mean, that's some of you young folks watching. You can Google who Lou Alcindor is. Anyway, yeah. So I mean, you're talking about like a 50-year gap. So I think they're going to enshrine the guy. Giannis will get enshrined up there. I mean, Drew Holiday's steal might get enshrined. I mean, that steal on Booker's really what you know what I mean. And I
Yeah,
got to
yeah,
tell you
no,
that
I mean,
one last thing too. Drew Holiday, man, I got nothing but love for you, man. When you left Philly, I thought it was the biggest mistake Philly ever made is getting rid of you. You were the one player I thought we should have hung on to. So I couldn't be happier to see you in the position you're in now. After all those years you wasted in New Orleans, where I thought your career was over. So I'm very happy to see you in the position you're in now. And I wish Milwaukee nothing but the best.
yeah, I mean, you got to just give respect where respect is due. They've earned it, right? They were
Oh
talked
yeah.
about being the third best team in the conference, right? And they were like number one seed for a long time. Then they just hit the injury bug, but then you got to look at their superstar coming to play. Question I have for you is this: when they close out on Tuesday, who's the Finals MVP? You got three choices. Who you taking? I
All
think
right.
I think I know who's gonna win it, but I think that my choice would be different than who's gonna win it.
I think my
But
choice
who
is
you
going to be
got?
different than all 3 of them. So they're going to give it to Giannis. I think we both will agree that we think that they're going to give it to Giannis. But
That's all I thought they were gonna give it to. Okay.
I think they should give it to Drew Holiday because
Okay. All right.
it's
So we
clear
agree.
it's clear as day that Drew Holiday was the player that put them over the top. Right? They had Brooke Lopez, they had Chris Middleton, they had Connaughton off the bench, they had all these players. When they lost DiVincenzo, we thought they were done. Right? We thought they were going to be a man short now. Right? Not a problem, right? They can start Forbes, Connaughton. They're cool. Drew Holiday plays better. defense than anybody on that team. He's one of the most underrated defensive players on that team, to be honest. He's been able to shut down the likes of Trae Young, Devin Booker, and Chris Paul, and basically James Harden too, if you want to be realistic. He's had to cover more all-star guards and superstar guards in this run than we've ever seen, ever. Do you tell me Giannis's hardest matchup was KD for 5 minutes in a series? Who's he guarding right now? And I'm asking honestly, because when you're talking about MVP, you're talking about most valuable. You're talking about best on both ends, right? It's the best player on both ends of the floor every single night. This series, he's covering DeAndre Ayton. And I'm not taking anything away from DeAndre Ayton, right? He's a good player, or he's covering James Crowder. I'm taking a lot away from James Crowder because he has no offense other than shooting the 3-ball. But DeAndre Ayton, let's be realistic here. DeAndre Ayton's no killer, right? There's a reason you have Chris Middleton and you have Drew Holiday. They handle the tough defensive matchups while Giannis gets to kind of get the easier ones, right? I think it's Drew Holiday, but I think they're going to give it to Giannis because it's Giannis.
I think it's Drew Holiday as well, but I think Chris Middleton's going to get it because of his 40-point games, and he has brought it on the defensive end as well. Because you started this by saying CP3 is not delivering. Who's covering CP3?
Drew.
Middleton.
Middleton. It's a mix.
It's a mix. But let me say this though, right? Both of those young fellas are doing a hell of a job on Booker and CP3. And it's allowed Drew Holiday's defense has allowed them to Chris Middleton to cover Booker and then also cover CP3. So
plus you're throwing different looks at them too, which is nice.
Exactly, right? Because Chris Middleton's long with the height. Drew Holiday's long with his wingspan. Anyway.
But Drew will body you. Drew will get right up on you. He plays great on-ball defense. It's phenomenal. But I want to say one more thing because I know we should probably move on to the 9:20 mark. You talked about Middleton's 40-point games. Let's not forget the first two games of the series that Giannis lost, or the Bucks lost. Giannis had his own 40-point games, right?
He did.
And he was the first player in NBA Finals history or third player in NBA Finals history to have back-to-back 40-point games. The other two were LeBron and Jordan. Yeah. So I mean,
we're probably right. I mean, at the end of the day, you're probably right. It probably will go to Giannis, but especially if he does anything remarkable in Game 6. But I think it's all the buzz and everything right now is on Chris Middleton, like your Hodge, whatever that is, right? Like everything's about him right now, and see that. So I haven't watched a full final game yet. I've been tuning into the end because that has been absolutely the best part. But it's just amazing to me how the Bucks just don't fold. They get down, they fight back. So credit to them. Hopefully they'll bring it home for their city on Tuesday night. If not, then I guess we'll wait till Friday and see how it shakes out. And knowing the NBA the way that we know the NBA, that's probably what's going to happen. Probably going to be a Game 7. But I'm just going to leave that where that is. So. You threw a topic at me as we switch gears here, and I had to question you about what the topic was. So each week, I send Sean a message around Thursday or Friday morning asking him to give me the topics that he wants to discuss for the show, and I come out and I build the show for Sunday nights. So he sends me his topics, and he's like, I want to give a shout out to Haskins. So I replied back with, who is Haskins, ? Because I really was lost about who I thought was a misprint. I thought he meant someone else, honestly. and then he says to me, no, I want to talk about Dwayne Haskins. So I posted the story about Dwayne Haskins getting in a domestic violence situation where he was not in the wrong, where his wife assaulted him, and I'll let you take it from there.
So, like Patrick said, he was not in the wrong. He actually did what I don't want to say more athletes should do, but he put himself in a situation where he cannot be viewed in a bad light for this at all. There's nothing that Dwayne Haskins did here that was wrong, right? And one of the brighter things about this is, He went out to the club with his boys, didn't bring his girl. His girl got mad that she didn't get to go to the club with his boys. He came home or came back to the suite. She knocked his tooth out. Instead of him putting his hands back on her, called the cops, got the situation under control, got her taken away, so on. You know what? I said to Patrick, this is going to be the only time that I applaud him for the situation ever. I don't think there's going to be another point in his entire career where I say, good job, Dwayne Haskins. But but the thing is here is he set a standard now, right? Like you hope that this sets a standard now, like with these pro athletes and how to, like, once you see things becoming physical, get yourself out of the situation, because at the end of the day, you are an athlete, right? You are an athlete, and no matter how good or how bad you are, there's going to be kids that look up to you, right? But real quick though, before I pass the mic over to you, can we all pretend? Can we all stop pretending, every male that's on this page, for 5 seconds here, that we all have been in a similar situation? I'm not saying your wife knocked your tooth out, but we're all going to sit. Not one single male in this place is going to lie to me right now and try to pretend like you ain't ever go out without your wife or significant other, and then come home and she pissed off at you because she didn't get the invite too.
No,
we all have been in this exact situation that he found himself in. The only difference is not all of us have wives that are going to punch us.
Right. Listen, in today's climate, it's a shame that it even came to that, right? And the thing about it is, we won't hear much about her, right? We won't hear much about what she did, why she did what she did, and this, that, and the other. So, yes, kudos to him for getting this thing straightened out. Hopefully, more people, just not even athletes, more people take notice to the way that it was handled and go about that route. Because then you flip it to the other side, and I want to give Richard Sherman's wife some credit to this point, right? Because we all watched this unfold. And I want to say something to everybody out there that was commenting on Richard Sherman, right? Want to make fun of the man because he wanted to stand for saying what he did was not the smartest thing, right? Here's the thing. When you put this stuff in perspective, you have to take the athlete away and look at that person as a human being. They go through the same stresses that we go through. We have no idea what this man's going through, right? Everything that happened is from what we know is out of character for him. And you made a great point in taking I'm going to defend the DeShaun Watson not being on the administrative list. So I have to make sure I'm clear there, because you weren't defending DeShaun Watson. You were just defending him not going on the administrative list until the situation was fully investigated and played out. It's the same thing here. Everybody was jumping to conclusions, saying this, that, and the other, but not letting this play out, right? And then all the stuff that comes out. And someone asked a great question, right? Like the door cam video is out of him trying to go to his in-laws or whatever, right? Now someone's saying that was like his ex-wife's house. Regardless, right? How does this information get out there so fast, right? Like who has the so here it is, right? Who has the athlete's interest at heart? And then who has the human being interest at heart, right? If you listen to his wife's interview, and she was all over Twitter correcting people. No, I'm the wife. I called 911. I specifically said no one was hurt. He didn't put his hands on anybody, not me, not the kids. We were concerned for his safety, right? He was making statements, he sent a text message, he was drinking, he was going to do harm to himself. We took the keys, we locked the gates, this, that, and the other. Now, it's a shame that we have to get this from her with all this media coverage, right? We have to get this from her, right? Nobody was running up, putting a microphone in her face, trying to find out what happened. She has to go on or call in and defend what happened with him, right? So here's where this double standard comes in, right? Because I'm going to ask you, do you know about the lineman for the Seattle Seahawks that retired? Know about him?
No.
Beat his girlfriend almost to death and sat down and ate some food when he was finished. Just happened not too long ago. He just got suspended and just retired. Talking about he's got some demons or something like that, right? Now, I'm gonna put it to you like this, right? And you take this information. Anybody that's listening and watching, take this information for what you want. Lineman's white, girlfriend was black. Now, does that have anything to do with how well this was portrayed or not, or is it just that he's just a lineman, right? You know, if he was a bigger name player, would we have heard about it? Because we sure are hearing about these massages over and over and over, right? So I'm leading this right all the way up into this big circle. So I'm glad everybody's bearing with me, right? So I want to say something to you about Trevor Bauer. You see how the MLB automatically put him on the administrative list, right?
Yep.
7-day administrative list to find out what's what. Now they've extended it twice. That was the point that I was trying to make about the DeShaun Watson situation, right? And it was a great debate. I really appreciated the stance you took in the South, but that's where I was getting at with that, right? It's like, something may not be right. Take the time to get it, right? Alleviate the pressure from all fronts, right? Because he's like essentially in limbo, right?
Yeah,
Like,
he's still getting paid and everything.
Can he go to camp? You know, what's it going to look like? You know what I mean? Like, the NFL is not doing themselves any favors with camp opening up in a week, and that's kind of what we were alluding to as well. So I don't know if you ever really got a chance. I don't know if you ever got a chance to read the stuff about Trevor Bauer, but it's awful, right?
Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible.
It's awful. It's freaky and it's awful, right?
My man said it's freaky. We on air. My man said it's freaky.
Hey, it is. I mean, listen. Until we know everything about it, right? That's what it is, right? Like, you know, you read it, right? You understand, right?
Yeah, I mean, I want to shoot back real quick, and I want to touch on Richard Sherman before we dive into Trevor Bauer, if we're going that way.
Sure, it doesn't matter.
But here's my thing, because with Richard Sherman here, to be real, he's an NFL player, right? What's the chances he's showing early signs of CTE? You know, and that is all stemming from CTE or concussion that hasn't been properly treated. I would have to go back and look at his injury history to see if he actually had any concussions that have actually sidelined him. But I'm sure he's had concussions throughout his career. I mean, that's, goes without saying. But Richard Sherman is an extremely intelligent man. He is an extremely intelligent man, a well-spoken man, a highly educated man. And this isn't something, that just kind of happens because you were drinking, right? So I'm going to ask, I would have to look up his actual injury history to see if he had, I don't remember him outside of like him having the ankle. I don't remember him really being hurt much in his career.
Lately, torn Achilles. Remember he missed the whole year with his Achilles?
Well, that's what I was talking about. He missed that whole year there. But I don't remember his time in Seattle, him missing time. I don't remember even in San Fran. Besides that 1 year, I don't remember. You know what I mean? I don't remember him really missing time.
No, he's been pretty durable, but you never know how many hits, man, to the head, right?
That's what I'm saying.
This is what they all talk about, right? Again, but you never know what's going on the outside, right? Too, right? Like, it might not even have anything to do with football. And this is what I'm talking about, when people always want to say these things and make these conclusions when we post this stuff. They're just like want to jump on somebody just to jump, right? Like you haven't been through something like that. Like, you don't know somebody that's been through something like that. Suppose you order food, you get the wrong order, right? And then you just might flip out this wrong day because you got the wrong order. So that's why you really should pay attention to this, because Hodge Podge Sports Show is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website, arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order? It always goes back to, I know I'm the best at that. You just never really know what somebody's going through and what trigger. I don't know. You're absolutely right. I've never known this man to be injury prone, except for later in his career, like everybody else. Maybe it's the fact that he doesn't have a contract. He hasn't been able to hook up with a team. Maybe that pressure just coming down like football is over. I don't know. Until he tells us, we won't know.
And yeah, but let's be real. You know, he plays a contact sport, so of course, having head-to-head trauma is extremely likely. And do we want to just say, "Oh, it was CTA" and walk away from it? No, but we want to know what's legitimately wrong with him, because, like I was saying, he's an extremely intelligent, well thought out man who speaks very well, is a highly educated individual. So for him just to have one of these outbursts like this, it's very, from what we know about Richard Sherman, it's very unlike Richard Sherman. So that's what I'm saying. Before all these people want to go out there, like you were saying, just attack the man, let's talk about what's actually wrong with him. You know what I mean? And I'm looking at his entire injury history right now. He has been injured 3 times his entire career. November 9th, 2017, he had the Achilles. And August 3rd, 2018, he had a hamstring. And that's his entire injury history. So this man has been this man is just talk about health, talk about availability, being the best ability. I mean, coach would have loved him, right?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, though, right? Here's the thing, right? You know, there's a problem with these Seattle Seahawks football players, right? We just touched on the linemen, right? We know about Earl Thomas, right? Now you got Richard Sherman, right? Like that whole culture is flawed, right? And they talked about it even when they were winning, right? You know how they all flipped on Russell Wilson and things like that, right? Like that plays a part in these things. I don't care what you say. But again, right, we don't know what we don't know, meaning that this could be who he is, and we've just never heard about it because he has great protection, great privacy, right? Because who in the hell knew Tiger Woods was doing what Tiger Woods was doing until one phone call changed his life, right? You see what I'm saying? So
but I feel like in golf it's a little different, right? Because you're not really playing with a team.
It's not different. It ain't different.
It is though, because you're
not. No, Sean, you're talking about the person. Think about. Don't worry. Don't think about the sport. Think about the athlete. Think about the athlete. There is no bigger athlete than Tiger Woods at that time. Come on, come on. I mean,
he doesn't have the people. He doesn't have the people around him that Richard Sherman constantly has around him.
What are you talking about?
Richard Sherman on an everyday basis, when it comes to the sport he's playing, is surrounded by you know what I mean? It's surrounded by thousands upon thousands of. I'm sorry. It's surrounded by 100 guys alone, just in players on the field, not including coaches and everything. Where Tiger Woods, when he's playing, he's him, one other guy, the 2 caddies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we're not talking about the sport, though. We're talking about the extracurriculars, man. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, okay, yes, but you're saying who would have known? It's more likely that you're that on a football team, Phil, that you're more likely to have outbursts than this because reports like this.
It's all about how you control that info, man. It's like I don't know. You'd have to go back and look at Tiger Woods' history, man, and then see the parameters that are in place for him and have always been ever since he's been an amateur, man. Like it's why he doesn't have so many people around him. Okay, it's like these are things like this is why this is like, remember what's the dude, man, said a couple years ago at the rookie symposium, what's your boy's name, used to be a receiver down in Philly, is not on TV no more, Chris Carter, remember? Telling the people at the rookie, listen, if we go out and I get in some trouble, I gotta have a fall guy. One of y'all gotta say it was you. That's again awful messaging, right, to people that are coming into the league, right? But so yeah, I wasn't meaning to delve into Trevor Bauer situation because that's just too much for us to even be able to broach on this show. Listen, you read it, and I told you once you read the one part, you get a kick out because you always tell me people are buns. And I said when you see the one part, you'll get a kick out of it. And it is freaky, but again, to each their own, right? But women have a hard enough time as it is, and then the first thing that comes out when it's an athlete is like, oh, it can't be true because he just signed a new contract, so she's after money. How many? I mean, now we've seen maybe 1-2 instances of that being true, but how many? But how many times is what the women say the truth, right? It's kind of like what Chuck Chalmers is saying right here, right? Money and fame comes back to get you like karma. Women drinking, drugs, and cheating. It's exactly right. And you're a public figure. So you were talking about Richard Sherman being smart and all that, and I was going to tell you, listen, being under influence make you do dumb shit. Everybody's been there, right? Everybody can talk about something that they've done when they had one too many or being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So you can be the smartest man in the world, but he wasn't smart enough to put that alcohol down. You know what I'm saying? So you know, I mean, no excuse. You just hope everything works out for him. You know, I'm just glad that really no one got hurt. You know, I don't know what's really up with the drunk driving. I don't know if that was him actually driving the car or whatever, but I guess it was. But let's circle back up because I have this comment put up here, and give a big shout out to our man Keith McLaughlin here. Giannis is easily the MVP. He's played well every game. Holiday struggled the first 2 games, and Middleton struggled shooting as well. Giannis is the leading scorer in the series, shooting over 610 field goal percentage, 13 rebounds, and 6 assists, and defending all over. So one part I will talk about, he's not defending all over. He ain't defending nobody. I mean, he gets to play, he gets to roam because he's defending guys that are not offensive threats. Like you say, Jamison Crowder is basically a catch and shoot three. Ayton is pretty much a lob player. He's not defending anybody. Put him on Booker, put him on CP3, and tell me he's defending. Before you say he's defending all over.
You got Middleton and Drew.
Everything else I agree with. He is born, he is scoring, he is rebounding, and the assists have been. But yeah, I mean, like I said, like he's not shutting anybody down. Don't even start with that nonsense. Just stop right there. He's shutting. I'll finish it for you. There we go. He said he's shutting. Nobody ain't shutting nobody down. But his presence though, is being felt all over the court. And
I mean, yeah, he's being a good rim protector. I'll give him that. And because like again, he's playing kind of this center field kind of position right now on defense,
right?
Where he's not really guarding anyone in particular. I don't want to say he's not guarding anyone in particular because that would be false. But he's guarding, like you said, he's guarding lesser of players, so he can play this center field position, so he can get those rim protecting block. He's defended both of them. They gave him matchups on NBA.com game by game, and if you watched Keith game by game, you would see that Middleton and Drew have been guarding them most of the time. That's why. Let's look at the end of the game. End of the game, who got the steal against Booker? Back-to-back series. Who stole the ball from Booker both times? I'm just asking. That's all I'm asking. At the end of the game, with under 2 minutes left. With under 2 minutes left,
I'm not trying to say.
Keith, hey, he guarded him for 3 minutes in the first quarter. Here's his percentages for it. Let's be realistic, right? When it comes crunch time, he's not guarding anybody important, right? He's not.
Sure is. And listen, we're not disagreeing that he shouldn't be the MVP. So let's be clear.
Yeah, I mean, I've said earlier that he's going to win MVP.
You know, I think honestly, you could give it to any three of them and not be upset. That's honest goodness truth. I think if it was Holiday, I think if it was Middleton, I think if it was Giannis, I don't think anybody would be upset. But we know who the breadwinner is, who the star of that team is. And the one thing that I like about him, I like his mentality. Like I like the way that he just plays play after play after play. Right? You know what I mean? Like he doesn't. You don't see him complaining too much to the officials. You don't see him whining like most players do after every call. You don't see him getting too upset about things. He just kind of stays in the moment and just plays. Like I said earlier, he misses those free throws. He's not afraid to go back and try it again, right? He's gonna do what he thinks he needs to do to help his team win. And I think I like that about him. I like his effort, right? Like He's not taking off plays on the defensive end, even though he doesn't have to guard the best player because we saw what happened when he got matched up with KD for a couple minutes. That was a matchup they couldn't have, right? But he does what he needs to do for his team in all facets of the game. And I think that's refreshing, right? And I think it's nice to see and even hear him talk about it. Like that's what he was saying at the end of the game. He's like, that's a really good team over there. And we're just playing a little bit harder, like we wanted more. And we're just executing. We're just focusing. And I think that was the best thing that I heard, that I read that he said was that we're just kind of blocking everything out. We're just focused on that. You look at it, right? When they make them plays, they just go right. If it's time out, they just go right to the huddle. There is no yip yapping. There isn't none of that. They just and like I can't tell you. I've never really been a big Devin Booker fan. I think you know that. Like I think he's a good player, but I just don't know if he is up there. And he's kind of like Donovan Mitchell to me, where those two kids think they're a lot better than what they are, and they just got a lot of growing up to do. Like I really lost a lot of respect for Donovan Mitchell as a player this year. The way that he's acting and some of the things that he said and the way he continues to act and does things, man. It's like, look, and that's how I kind of feel like Booker, man. He's like, here's the thing. You can say that Holiday may have fouled him on taking the ball away from him twice, but then I would direct you to two plays.
It's the finals,
hold on,
man.
Let me finish.
Sorry.
I would. That's okay because I will direct you to two plays directly before he got the ball taken away from, like taking candy from a baby. He mauled Middleton twice and they didn't call a foul. Like he should have fouled out in game 4. And then this is the last game he fouled and made a call. So he can't come back and say I was fouled, right? But I think this though, right? I don't know how you come back being up 2-0, right? So if this Phoenix team, if they lose this series, which it does look like they're going to lose this series, whether it's in 6 or 7, I'll be very interested to see how they. Yes, Keith, absolutely right. He isn't afraid to fail. Be very interested to see how they recover next year. Then I think we can go back to your question about the legacy, because if he's there next year, how does he bring them back next year? I think that's a great question to follow up on your topic about what his legacy is, right?
See.
And I think this finals has saved the NBA season, though. I tell you.
One of my biggest problems with the NBA today is showing itself wildly in the NBA finals with Devin Booker. When you're and Trey Young did it a lot too, and so does Joel Embiid a lot as well. If you have players that are playing for the foul in key moments of the game, you're going to tell me at the final minute and a half of the game, you're more worried about being fouled than you are trying to put that ball up, bank it off the backboard, do whatever you got to do to score. You're more worried about attracting the foul than actually scoring. You're taking the game out of your own hands and putting it into the hands of somebody else. And that's where the problem lies. I saw Trey Young do it against both Philly and against Milwaukee. I saw Joel Embiid do it a couple times this year, a couple times in the playoffs. It is super frustrating. Stop playing for the foul. You want to win. You want to be a winner. You want to be able to get that parade in your hometown or wherever it is you play. Go for the basket. If he goes for the basket and isn't worried about getting the foul on him, then guess what? One, you probably do get the foul called because you're being aggressive towards the basket the entire time. And two, you probably make it. And if you miss, you really have nobody to blame but yourself because at least you went for the basket, right? You can't point blame at the refs then, right?
Right.
So again,
right.
so this it's super frustrating. It's one of the biggest flaws with basketball today, and it's just the refs in general, man. Like I'm not saying go back to 80s and 90s style basketball where there's hand checking and all that. Listen,
Play.
There needs to be a middle ground, right? Get me back to 2000. Yo, get me to 2000. Get me to 2000. That was that 2000s era of basketball where you still saw hard-nosed defense, but they just got rid of the hand checking. I can live with that style. That's the basketball I grew up watching. That's the basketball I love watching, right? That's it right there. You know what I mean? From
sure.
That's Kobe's era, Iverson's era, early LeBron. That's when LeBron played defense. These kids today that want to tout LeBron's a good defensive player. They never seen LeBron play defense.
See, I like the Jordan rules. I like seeing Charles Barkley throwing his body at another player in the air coming down the lane. I like no layups for playoffs. That's the era I grew up. That was basketball to me. This stuff we got now, I don't get it. Like, I really don't. Like, someone gets hit, we automatically got to check the monitor to see if it's a flagrant foul. Come on, let's play.
That's my point. Like, there needs to be a middle ground. There needs to be a middle ground.
Why are they doing all this crying? They get all this time off. Like, I don't understand. Don't get me started, man.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't understand. Like, I mean, was it Brooklyn? Brooklyn has off every year right around this time for the next 5-6 months. I mean, hell.
They were the number one team in the East, though. You know what I mean? That's all we heard. Give them 25 games. Check back. We'll be at 25 games. Guaranteed to go be number one team.
Then it was they don't need to be the number one team.
Right. Well, they haven't played that many games together, but you watch. Nobody can cover them. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you're right. The only thing they cover them is the blanket they sit right up underneath right now.
Now it's if Kyrie is healthy. There's always an if. There's always an if and a but with them.
Well, it's always an if and a but with him. Let's start there. Leave it there. Let's just start and leave it right there. So we talked about the NBA. Hey, man, listen. I gotta say something to you because we do a lot of NBA talking. It's nauseating. Blech. But let's talk about the best sport that there is, man. Let's talk about the national. Let's talk about the National Hockey League.
I thought we were talking baseball. All right, I can do this.
Well, are you paying attention to what's going on right now with hockey? Just two quick things to say, and we'll move on. Have you seen the names that are unprotected for for Seattle to draft on Wednesday night?
There's a lot of good names. Seattle's going to be a good team next year. Seattle's going to be a very good. They'll be a very good team.
They're not going to be a good team next year.
Didn't we say the same thing about the Knights?
Wait, I'm glad I'm so nice of you to walk right into that. Thank you for bringing that up. Do you realize now? I dropped a nugget on you about Tampa Bay Lightning winning and how it. You and I, we grew up, we watched wrestling, right? You know how when the stars, they lose a match because they got cheated, they'll say they'll respect the win because it's on the record books, but they didn't like the way it went down, right? You've heard wrestlers say that before. That's what every team in the NHL is saying. Or we respect the back-to-back cups, but we don't like the way it went down. Because I told you how they circumvented the cup, right? I told you how they hid two of their best players on long-term injury reserve all year. Dude wasn't even hurt. Comes back for the playoffs because their salary cap is adjusted to where they can bring him back and is able to play. Talking about Nikita Kucherov, man. And, there's only one other person and out of our 2,000 fans, Ron Bentz, thank you, my man, grew up with you, mentioned it. And I'm like, I'm really surprised that the hockey circles just aren't going on. But my point is this. Sean, I didn't notice. Remember, I always said to you how the NHL set up Vegas to be successful. Like, there's no way. Like, we've never seen anywhere else in any other major sport how a team first year makes it all the way to the final. Well, Sean, when Vegas was drafting, they had side deals made with teams that if you were not going to protect this player, if you wanted to protect this player, you had to make a side deal with us to give us this player and these assets. Now, Seattle is not afforded the same opportunity as Vegas. Remember a couple years ago when we were talking about this and we were saying that when the NHL brings in another team in, we hope that they get the same treatment. as Vegas did because the NHL has set a precedent on how teams can be put together and be successful right away.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're the general manager of Seattle. I'll be Chuck Fletcher because I'm on the Flyers. Hey, yo, Ron, I really don't want you to take Shane Gostisbehere, man. You can take anybody else but Gostisbehere, right? Then if you take this player off this team here for us, I'll send you this player plus this, that, and the other, right? So that can happen. But what Vegas was able to do was able to tell you, oh, yeah, you cannot trade that player. If we decide I agree with you that we're not going to take him, you can't trade him and flip him from something else, right? Or you can't add a sweetener onto the deal. And isn't that just crazy, man? Isn't that just crazy?
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a scenario out there because Carey Price is left unprotected, right?
Yep.
So there was a scenario out there where Seattle may have taken Carey Price and then traded him back to Montreal for like draft picks and things like that. NHL came out today and was like, no, can't do it. That's total circumvention. Well, how's that any different than when you have a free agent that goes and signs with a team? It gets traded to a team and then comes back and signs with you. Signs with you, right?
But hold on, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this list. So there's a lot of good players on this list.
There is a lot of good players out there, right?
A lot. Like you got Price, Tarasenko.
Oh my God.
Landeskog, Johansson.
Yeah.
DeShaun, JVR. I mean, there's a lot of names. Get on here. Ryan Strome.
I mean, listen.
I mean, there's a lot of good names on this list.
There is, but this is where we're coming in at that they're not being afforded that same opportunity to do something.
Yeah,
so
but they're going to get Carey Price. They'll be all right.
Well, see, here's the thing: they're not going to get him now because he's going to miss a lot of time next year. Because they just had an article today that they were thinking about taking him, but he's got a serious hip injury, so they're probably not going to take him. They are going to take Landeskog. They'd be silly not to take that guy. So they're going to be all right. I just don't know if they're going to be Vegas good, right?
Yeah, but I mean, Vegas good was like a shot in the bay. Like you don't see that. The only other time we've seen Vegas good right from the jump is, let's be real, is OKC. But OKC, I'm flipping basketball here, was kind of different because they already had Russell Westbrook and they already had Kevin Durant. They just moved to Oklahoma City, so they were good. Yeah. Seattle would have been good. Yes. You know what I mean? Seattle, the Supersonics would have been good, and then but they just kind of transitioned. Seeing what we saw in Vegas is very, very, very rare. You never see a team come into a league and kind of run it. That's why the Charlotte Bobcats never really got good traction, right? Because the Bobcats, when they were an NBA team, could never really get any good traction because they never had a star player to start with. Realistically,
right?
I couldn't even tell you. Yeah, I'm just like thinking in my head just of the Bobcats now. Fun story about the Bobcats. One of the best players on that team went to my high school.
Kelly Tripucka. I have no idea.
No, Matt Carroll. Not anybody ever going to even know who that is.
Matt Carroll, University of Penn. Matt Carroll.
University of Penn. There you go. Nope, you're still wrong.
Yeah, Penn.
No, you're wrong. Notre Dame. His brother, Pat Carroll, went to St. Joe's. His brother, Pat Carroll, went to St. Joe's. It's Pat never made it to the NBA, and Matt did. There's a huge difference. Pat played with Shamir Nelson.
Tomato. I mean, yeah.
My man confidently went University of Penn. No.
Yeah, University of Penn. Yeah.
But no, you are right though. Like my whole point was we're never going to see something like Vegas happen again. That was a shot in the barrel. You're not going to see that again. But Seattle, I think, is going to be a formidable team next year. They have the
thing. Right. You're absolutely right. And here's the thing, right? This is how the NHL is all screwed up, right? Because they can't take all those players because of the salary cap. Like they have to hit the floor, so they got to take some, but they can't take them all. And so every team knows this. So anyway, so listen, before we get out of here, I just wanted to talk about that because I'm going to be talking about that heavy on Sunday. Because believe you me, you're going to see Tarasenko in a Flyers uniform. You're going to see some other moves. It's going to be crazy. And we're definitely going to be talking about that. What's up, Reginald Johnson? But let's end this on how the Eagles are rumored to be in the best position for a DeShaun Watson trade.
Yeah, let's go.
you bring it home and sign us off.
Listen, I don't give a crap about what might happen to him. I do not, and I don't want to hear any of you Jalen Hurts supporting dumbasses come at me and tell me anything else otherwise. Give me DeShaun Watson all day, every day. Listen, I'll get him all the massages he needs. I'll support that fund myself. I'll do whatever needs to get done. I don't care. Get my man at Kelly Green. It's not even Kelly Green no more. I hope they don't ever wear those jerseys, to be honest, because they're pretty ugly. But get my man in midnight green. Get him over here in Philly immediately. You can have for all three of those first rounders that we're going to have next year. Because the way I see a first round pick is the first round pick going to be better than the player that you are getting when you're trading for? There is not a player in next year's draft that's going to be as good as DeShaun Watson is. Period. The end. So you did what you were supposed to, right? You had first round talent out of it. That's all you can ever ask for. And with that, my friend, I got nothing else. I want DeShaun Watson. And I only want, and I'll one more personal note why I want DeShaun Watson on the Eagles. My brother's favorite team is the Houston Texans. And if his favorite player comes to play for the Philadelphia Eagles, that would just make me so happy inside. It would fill me with such euphoria.
That's awful. That's awful. So I have a question before we sign off. Does Aaron Boone end the season as a Yankees manager?
Well, I mean, he's about to win this series versus the Red Sox, and they're about to whap the Red Sox. Bases loaded. They're already up 5-0 right now. It's not the Yankees style to fire a coach midseason. They don't do that. They wait to the end of the year, then they'll release him. They're in no way winning the division. But they're only like 3 games out of the wild card. So that's still a possibility for them. I think more than likely, yes, he'll end the season as the Yankees manager. I don't see how he does it because it's not the Yankees style to fire a guy mid-season. They'll wait to the end of the year to fire him. Yeah, I don't have much to say for him, to be honest. He's got him loaded. He's got a league. You know what I am afraid of? That we could really talk about this next week. We can go Major League Baseball heavy next week if you want. I don't think Aaron Judge is going to be a Yankee in 2 years.
I agree with that. And yes, we will definitely be going MLB heavy because we have the trade deadline coming up, and there's going to be a lot of movement. A lot of teams are going to be fighting for the same players because the NL East is just the muck. Nobody wants to take hold of it, so everybody's still in it. So everybody's going to be going for it. You're going to see 3 teams from the NL West get 3 playoff spots. Then you're going to see the winner of the NL Central and then the winner of the NL East get the other 2. The AL, like you said, the Yankees are close. Division's not out of reach. Focus on the wild card first, get that, and then you run down the division champ, and we'll see where we end up. Yeah, so we'll definitely be back on Sunday night. We got a lot of NHL to cover. We'll have an NBA champion to discuss and the MVP of the finals to discuss, and we will have our MLB trade to discuss. We might have some guests join us next week. I'll see if we can round up some good people on the baseball front to talk about that. With that, we bid everybody a good night and a farewell. God bless you. We'll see you next week.
Hate to be the bearer of bad news.